Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. President Biden has reiterated that he is confident the evacuation mission from Afghanistan can be completed by the deadline of August the 31st. He said the pace of flights had increased and all people with the necessary papers should be able to leave. But he added that he had asked the Pentagon to prepare contingency plans if problems arise. From Washington, here's Nomia Iqbal.
After a long delay, President Biden finally held a news conference to confirm that he was keeping to his deadline. He pointed out that with more aircraft leaving Kabul's airstrip every day, carrying people to safety, he expected the evacuation mission to be completed by the end of the month. But he's relying on the Taliban to ensure this. However, the Taliban has made it clear that staying beyond August the 31st is a red line. It's unclear what could happen, but President Biden emphasised several times that allies of the US were standing shoulder to shoulder with him, as they had done for years, to meet the challenges in Afghanistan.
The World Bank says it's suspending aid to Afghanistan because of the Taliban's seizure of power. The bank said it was deeply concerned at the impact this would have on development projects, especially those currently benefiting women, and it would closely monitor the situation. Observers say well over half the Afghan government budget is funded by international donors. The online accommodation platform Airbnb says it is putting its global housing stock to good use. The company has pledged to provide free housing for up to 20,000 Afghan refugees to help them resettle around the world. Michelle Fleury has more from New York.
Since Taliban militants took over Afghanistan, Airbnb has helped house about 200 Afghan refugees in its listed properties, mainly in the United States. Now it wants to increase that figure to 20,000. To ramp up, the online accommodation platform is working with Airbnb hosts all over the world who want to offer their homes for free or for a discounted rate. This isn't the first time Airbnb has opened its doors during a crisis. It successfully offered homes to 225,000 frontline workers during the pandemic.
Democrats in the US House of Representatives have reached a compromise that brings President Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure bill a step closer to being enacted. They've agreed to vote before the end of September on legislation already approved by the Senate. President Biden said the House had taken significant steps towards the transformation of America.
We're going to make long overdue, much-needed investments in basic, hard infrastructure of this nation. This is an area where we have broad bipartisan agreement to invest in our antiquated roads, highways, bridges, transit, drinking water systems, broadband, clean energy, environmental cleanup, and making infrastructure more resilient to the climate crisis, and so much more.
Live from London, you're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. The world governing body of football, FIFA, is to receive just over $200 million in compensation for losses suffered in global corruption schemes. The United States Department of Justice said the money would come from forfeited funds seized during its long-running probe into corrupt football officials and sports marketing executives. FIFA's president said the money would now be used for its proper purposes. The US Supreme Court has ordered President Biden's administration to reinstate a policy introduced by his predecessor Donald Trump that requires thousands of asylum seekers to stay in Mexico while awaiting hearings by US immigration judges. The policy was criticized by rights activists who said it subjected migrants, primarily from Central America, to dangerous conditions in Mexican border cities. A new report shows the number of people with high blood pressure worldwide has doubled in the last 30 years. The prevalence has shifted to lower-income countries as wealthy nations have largely brought it under control. Here's Imogen Folks.
High blood pressure is a key risk factor for heart disease and stroke. It's one of the top causes of death and disease worldwide. It's easily detected and it's treatable, but 580 million people are not diagnosed. They miss out on potentially life-saving treatment. The report urges governments to prioritise diagnosis of high blood pressure and increase access to treatment in order to prevent disease and save lives.
Stars of the music world have been paying tribute to the talents of Charlie Watts, the drummer with the Rolling Stones for almost 60 years, who's died in London aged 80. Sir Mick Jagger had no words but shared a picture of his bandmate Watts smiling from behind a drum kit. Fellow drummers praised Charlie as the beating heart of the Rolling Stones and a unique talent. The Beatles drummer Ringo Starr tweeted, "We're going to miss you, man." Paul McCartney, Elton John and Bryan Adams were among those expressing sadness. BBC News.